Thus, the global or international free trade has done more harm than good. Hi, my name is MGS Migabon, a BSN major in science student, and for today, we will tackle about how OFWs contribute to the Philippine economy. The biggest contributor to the Philippines' GDP and its biggest export is its people, particularly its overseas workers. OFW remittances are bigger than the export value of any traditional export product sectors such as electronic products, electrical machinery, agricultural products, vehicle parts, and precious metals. The cumulative OFW remittances in 2017 amounted to $31.3 billion according to Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and Philippine Statistics Authority. It came from the total cash remittances of $28.1 billion and $3 billion of whose personal remittances in cash and in kind. Overall remittances from Filipino workers abroad accounted for 10% of the country's GDP, which stood at $313.6 billion. In 2017, based on World Bank data, the World Bank also considers the cash remittances of OFWs as a key factor for the Philippines' economic resilience amid the recession and economic crisis that haunted many countries in the past. The cash sent to the Philippines by OFWs allowed the country to withstand the crisis remittance statistics of OFWs abroad. 69% of OFWs remit money to their relatives through banks. The rest prefer to do it through their own agencies, door-to-door delivery service, or co-workers or friends vacationing in the Philippines. The Philippine Statistics Authority came up with a 2017 survey on overseas Filipinos showing the remittances of overseas Filipinos. The total remittance sent by OFWs during the period of April to September 2017 was estimated at 205.2 billion pesos. These remittances included cash sent home, which is 146.8 billion pesos, cash brought home, which is 48.3 billion pesos, and remittances in kind, which is 10.1 billion pesos, which is shown in Table 6 and Figure 6. The majority of OFWs sent their remittances through banks are 62.8%, while the rest use agencies or local offices are 3.1%, door-to-door delivery, which is 0.8%, friends or co-workers, which is 0.1%, or other means, which is 33.1%. Each OFW remitted an average of nearly 100,000 Philippine pesos that year. The lure of foreign jobs that pay more and in foreign currencies has caused the migration of more and more Filipinos to work abroad over the years. There are currently more than 10 million Filipino migrants in different countries, one of the largest groups in the world. 2.3 million of them are OFWs or overseas Filipino workers. The remittances of these overseas workers represent a big portion of what they earn abroad. So how do these remittances contribute to the Philippine economy? The Commission on Filipino Overseas or CFO, an agency tasked with the promotion of interests and welfare of migrants, explained the impact of remittances to the Philippine economy. According to CFO, the flow of the remittances from overseas workers impacts the economy as follows. Number one, the earnings of Filipino migrant workers are sent to their families at home. They are remitted through the international banking system. Number two, the amount sent through the international banking system as monitored by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Lastly, number three, the remittances influences the net dollar receipts of the country, raise the domestic living standards, and affects the macro fundamentals of the country. So how remittances have raised domestic living standards? As remittances are received by the OFW's households, they translate into income flows, supporting their consumption and investments for families with other sources of domestic incomes. The remittances they receive become substantial addition to their disposable income, and with more income comes increases in household consumption, which can come in many forms. Households get to spend more on their basic needs like food and clothing, and in other less essential items such as leisure and even in luxuries. With their enhanced spending and consumption, families enjoy an improvement in the standard of living. Their economic position will depend on the amount of remittances they receive and on their present domestic income. The more advanced consumption allocations are for expenditures on house maintenance and improvements and family investments. In many parts of the country where there are OFW households who receive remittances, their houses can be seen changing in appearance and condition, becoming more attractive and sturdier. The positive effect of remittance inflows can be observed and felt by the entire communities where there are OFW households. The sustained income flows to these households produce brisk business activities in shopping centers across the country. Since OFWs come from the country's different sectors and regions, the improved standards of living can be seen in cities, provinces, and far-flung areas and towns. So the effect on the country's macro fundamentals. As has been described earlier, the increase in remittances produced a favorable effect on the Philippines' balance of payments. The stable flow of remittances increases the country's capability to import more goods and services. The country is also put in a more comfortable position to service its external obligation and debts. With the increase of remittances and other earnings from exports in the past 17 years, the concern with balance of payments and perennial deficits has turned into a surplus situation, helping Filipino families support education and growth, which further improves the country. Filipinos consider children's education as one of the most important needs of their family after the household's basic needs are served. Education is their next top priority. OFWs and their families see to it that the schooling of the children in the household is financed and sustained until the children's graduation in the highest level of education. They believe that it is the key to achieving a better future for the next generation. The parents and adults strive to provide the children through education what they may not have achieved themselves. They want to raise the standard of living of future generation of children and their families. It is not just the family's top concern, but the government's as well. Both sectors consider it their responsibility to provide the children and the youth the vital work of providing the right kind of education and training. Education is deemed important in raising the moral, social, and economic standards of individuals.